Every man has been there. You're having a discussion about something simple, where to eat dinner, what movie to watch, why the credit card bill is so high. You present facts, logic, reasonable points, and somehow, 15 minutes later, you're apologizing for things you didn't even know you did, defending yourself against accusations from 2019, and wondering how a conversation about takeout turned into a relationship referendum. Let me explain why arguing with certain people, particularly in romantic relationships, feels like playing chess against someone who's playing emotional volleyball. You're not even in the same game. The fundamental problem is that men and women often approach disagreement from completely different planets. When I disagree with my male friends about something, we present evidence, counter-evidence, reach a conclusion, grab a beer. Done. But in many romantic relationships, the conversation isn't about the topic at all. It's about feelings, validation, emotional temperature, relationship dynamics, and 17 other invisible factors you didn't even know were in play. Here's a perfect example from my practice. A guy comes in, exhausted, tells me about an argument over his partner wanting a new couch. He researched prices, measured the space, made a spreadsheet of options. She got upset because you don't care about making our home beautiful. He showed her the spreadsheet to prove he cared. She cried harder because everything is just data to you. He literally couldn't win because they weren't having the same conversation. The perceived versus actual power dynamic is fascinating. After most of these arguments, she thinks she won because he apologized. He thinks he lost because logic didn't matter. But here's the truth. Nobody won. He didn't apologize because she was right. He apologized because continuing was pointless. She didn't win the argument. She won his withdrawal from it. That's not victory. That's exhaustion. This emotional versus rational clash creates impossible situations. You're trying to discuss why the budget is tight this month. You've got bank statements, Excel sheets, clear numbers. But the response you get is, "You always make me feel bad about spending money." Suddenly you're not discussing math anymore. You're defending your entire character. The conversation shifted from facts to feelings, and most men don't even notice when it happens. A client yesterday described it perfectly. "It's like I'm speaking English and she's hearing Portuguese, then responding in Mandarin, and we're both getting mad that the other person doesn't understand. The logic you're using isn't wrong, but it's irrelevant because the conversation isn't happening in the realm of logic. It's happening in the realm of emotion, where different rules apply. The unequal standards of behavior are staggering. If a man raises his voice during an argument, he's aggressive, potentially dangerous, needs anger management. If his partner throws things, screams, has a complete meltdown, she's passionate or emotional or just really cares. I've seen situations where she's literally throwing plates while calling him abusive for speaking firmly. The double standard is so normalized we don't even question it. Society gives different people different emotional licenses. Some people can cry, scream, slam doors, send 30 texts in a row, show up at your workplace, call your mother, and it's considered fighting for love. Flip the genders on any of those behaviors and it's stalking, harassment, abuse. This isn't about gender superiority, it's about recognizing that different rules create different games. Arguments become psychological traps where you literally cannot win. If you stay calm, you're emotionally unavailable or don't care enough to fight. If you get emotional, you're scary, or just like her father. If you walk away, you're abandoning her. If you stay and engage, you're attacking her. Every possible response has been pre-framed as wrong. It's like playing tic-tac-toe where your opponent gets to go twice. I had a client map out an argument he had with his partner. Every decision tree led to him being wrong. Agree with her? You're just saying that. Disagree? You never support me. Stay neutral? You don't care about my feelings. The game is rigged because it's not about finding truth or solution. It's about emotional processing that looks like conflict. The illusion of victory is particularly cruel. She thinks she won because you stopped arguing. You think you lost because nothing got resolved. But the reality, both people lost. The relationship lost. The issue remains unaddressed, resentment builds, and the same argument will happen again next week with compound interest. It's not victory when your partner gives up. It's the beginning of emotional checkout. In many relationships, the gendered responsibility for stability falls entirely on one person. You're expected to be the emotional regulator, the adult, the stabilizer. When things get heated, you're supposed to de-escalate. When emotions run high, you're supposed to stay calm. But here's the thing. Being the permanent designated adult in a relationship is exhausting. You're not a partner anymore, you're an emotional babysitter. The mismatched social games make everything worse. Men often compete directly: sports, business, clear winners and losers. Many women compete indirectly: social dynamics, reputation, emotional influence. When these two styles clash in an argument, it's chaos. You're trying to win the point while she's trying to win the relationship narrative. You're playing checkers while she's playing emotional 4D chess. The social and emotional weaponry deployed in these arguments is incredible. The tone that implies you're an idiot while maintaining plausible deniability. The tears that appear exactly when you're making a strong point. This sudden bringing up of that thing you did 3 years ago. The "I guess I'm just a terrible person then," that forces you to comfort instead of continue your point. These aren't accidents, they're tactics, whether conscious or not. I watched a couple argue in therapy. He made a logical point about their finances. Her response: "That's exactly what my ex used to say." Boom! Now he's not discussing finances, he's defending that he's not her ex. She didn't address his point at all, but successfully derailed the entire conversation. It's brilliant if you think about it. Wrong, but brilliant. The double standards in judgment are everywhere. She can say, "All men are trash," and it's venting. You say, "Some women are difficult," and you're a misogynist. She can generalize your entire gender based on her ex, but if you mention any pattern you've noticed, you're stereotyping. She can be hangry, but you can't be grumpy after work. The playing field isn't just uneven, it's vertical. The erosion of respect through conflict is brutal. Every time you have the same circular argument, you lose a little respect for each other. She sees you as weak for not standing your ground. You see her as irrational for not accepting logic. Both of you are right and wrong simultaneously. The repeated pattern of unresolved conflict slowly kills the admiration that brought you together. Emotional manipulation through vulnerability is the nuclear option. When losing an argument on facts, some people shift to emotions. Suddenly they're crying about their childhood, their anxiety, their depression. Now you're the monster making a traumatized person cry over dish duty. The argument transforms from "whose turn is it to clean" to "why are you attacking someone with mental health struggles?" A guy told me his partner would literally curl up in a ball during arguments, making herself look small and vulnerable. He'd immediately stop, comfort her, apologize. Later he realized she only did this when she was clearly wrong. It wasn't real vulnerability, it was tactical vulnerability. But try explaining that without sounding like a sociopath. The miscommunication of intent drives everyone crazy. You think you're having a problem-solving discussion. She thinks you're testing the relationship. You're focused on finding a solution. She's focused on how the conversation feels. You end thinking you've fixed things. She ends feeling unheard. You both speak English, but you're having entirely different conversations. When you say, "Let's figure out how to handle the holidays," you mean logistics. She hears, "Let's discuss how much you value my family versus yours, and whether our relationship priorities align." You're planning travel dates. She's evaluating your commitment level. No wonder these conversations explode. You're not even discussing the same thing. The cultural conditioning runs deep. From childhood, boys are taught to compete directly, win clearly, shake hands after. Girls often learn indirect competition, social maneuvering, emotional intelligence as currency. By adulthood, these different operating systems are so ingrained that we don't even realize we're running different software. Both sides need higher emotional awareness, but particularly in recognizing when you're not actually having the conversation you think you're having. When she says, "You never help around the house," she might mean, "I don't feel valued in this relationship." When you say, "I do help," you're listing tasks. She's talking about emotion, you're talking about action, both valid, neither connecting. Modern relationship confusion comes from these fundamentally different rules of engagement. It's not that people are bad or malicious, they're just playing different games, like trying to play poker with someone who thinks they're playing Uno. Everyone's frustrated, nobody's winning, and the rules make no sense because you're not even agreeing on what game you're playing. Many separations happen not from lack of love, but from exhaustion of translation. You get tired of every discussion becoming emotional warfare. She gets tired of feeling unheard. Both of you are tired of the same circular arguments. The relationship doesn't die from big explosions. It dies from 1,000 paper cuts of miscommunication. The appearance of strength versus real strength is crucial here. Some people think winning arguments through emotional tactics is strength. It's not. Real strength is staying calm when someone's trying to trigger you. Real strength is addressing the actual issue instead of attacking character. Real strength is walking away from unwinnable games instead of playing them. I see people who win every argument through emotional dominance, then wonder why their relationships keep failing. You didn't win, you just trained your partner to avoid conflict, hide their truth, and eventually leave. Pyrrhic victories in relationships are still losses. The male dilemma is real. You're trapped between being perceived as cruel when firm or weak when yielding. Stand your ground. You're aggressive and uncaring. Give in, you're weak and lose attraction. Try to find middle ground. You're wishy-washy. The only winning move seems to be not to play, but then you're emotionally unavailable. A client described it perfectly. If I match her emotional energy, I'm scary. If I stay calm, I'm condescending. If I walk away, I'm abandoning. If I engage, I'm attacking. I literally cannot find a response that doesn't make me the bad guy. This isn't an accident. It's what happens when emotional reasoning replaces logical discussion. The solution isn't to argue better, it's to stop arguing altogether. Not stop communicating, but stop treating emotional conversations like logical debates. When she says, "You don't care about me," don't list the 17 ways you showed care this week. Instead, translate the emotion. She's feeling disconnected. Address that feeling, not the literal words. Emotional translation over debate changes everything. You never listen doesn't mean you literally never listen. It means she doesn't feel heard right now. You always do this doesn't mean always. It means this pattern hurts. Stop responding to the words and start responding to the emotions underneath. It's not about being right. It's about understanding what's really being communicated. Here's a practical example. She says, "You care more about your video games than me. Your instinct is to defend. You only played for 2 hours, you spent all weekend together, etc. But that's engaging the wrong conversation. The real message is, I'm feeling neglected and need attention. Address that. You're feeling ignored. Let's do something together. Argument avoided, actual issue addressed." Some people need to hear themselves process emotions out loud. They're not actually accusing you of anything. They're working through feelings verbally. Your job isn't to defend against every statement, but to let them process, then address the core concern. It's like being a wall for someone to bounce a ball off. You're not supposed to catch it and throw it back harder. The chronic argument pattern usually looks like this. Issue arises, emotions escalate, original issue gets lost, personal attacks begin, someone wins through exhaustion, nothing gets resolved, resentment builds, repeat next week with compound interest. Breaking this pattern requires someone to refuse to play the game. I teach guys the emotional aikido approach. Don't meet force with force. Redirect the energy. When she's emotional, become calmer. When she attacks, ask questions. When she generalizes, get specific. Don't fight the current, redirect it. You're not trying to win. You're trying to understand and be understood. The validation before solution approach works wonders. Before jumping to fix things, validate the emotion. That sounds really frustrating. I can see why you'd feel that way. That must be hard. Only after the emotion is acknowledged can you move to solutions. Skip the validation, and nothing you say matters because she doesn't feel heard. Some arguments are actually tests, not conscious manipulative tests, but subconscious checking for emotional safety. Will you stay calm when I'm upset? Will you still love me when I'm irrational? Can I trust you with my emotions? The argument isn't about the topic, it's about whether you're safe. Pass the test by staying steady, not by winning the point. The power of simply saying you're right is incredible when used strategically. Not as surrender, but as acknowledgement. You're right, I haven't been as present lately. You're right, that was insensitive. You're not admitting total fault. You're acknowledging their emotional experience. It's not weakness, it's emotional intelligence. Setting boundaries around arguments is crucial. I want to discuss this, but not while either of us is emotional. Let's take 20 minutes and come back. I hear you, but I won't be yelled at. You're not avoiding conflict. You're insisting it happen productively. Some people need to learn that emotional intensity doesn't grant them special argument privileges. The difference between venting and discussing needs to be explicit. Ask, do you need me to just listen? Or are we problem solving? Half of all arguments could be avoided with this question. Sometimes people just need to express frustration without someone trying to fix it. Your job might just be to listen and validate, not solve. Recognize when you're being baited into unwinnable arguments. Some topics are emotional landmines designed to explode regardless of your response. Do you think she's pretty? Would you remarry if I died? These aren't real questions, they're emotional traps. The only winning move is to recognize the game and refuse to play. When every discussion becomes an argument, the relationship is already over. You're just negotiating the terms of surrender. Healthy relationships have discussions, even heated ones, but they resolve. If you're having the same fight for the 100th time, you're not in a relationship anymore. You're in a hostage situation where both of you are simultaneously the hostage and the captor. Some people actually need the drama to feel alive. The argument isn't a problem for them, it's the point. The emotional intensity, the tears, the yelling, the making up. It's their version of intimacy. If you need peace and they need chaos, you're fundamentally incompatible. No amount of communication skills can bridge that gap. The strategic incompetence in arguments is real. Some people are perfectly capable of logical discussion at work, with friends, with everyone except their partner. Suddenly with you, everything becomes emotional chaos. That's not inability, that's choice. They can control themselves. They choose not to with you because emotion gets them better results than logic. Modern therapy often makes this worse by validating all feelings as equally important. Your feeling that the sky is green doesn't make it green. Your feeling that someone wronged you doesn't mean they did. Feelings are real, but they're not facts. The inability to distinguish between feelings and reality creates endless circular arguments about whose feelings are more valid. The exhaustion factor is what kills most relationships. Not the big betrayals, but the accumulated fatigue of never being able to have a simple conversation. When you dread bringing up any topic because you know it'll become a 3-hour emotional marathon, you stop communicating altogether. The relationship dies from silence, not conflict. Some people's entire identity is built around being the victim in arguments. They need you to be wrong so they can be right. They need you to be the villain so they can be the hero. Your growth threatens their narrative. Your happiness challenges their worldview. These people will create conflict from nothing because conflict confirms their identity. The accountability gap is massive. In many dynamics, one person can say horrible things during arguments, cruel, cutting, destructive things, and excuse it as, "I was emotional." But if you respond with even mild firmness, you're abusive. The person who causes the most emotional damage often sees themselves as the biggest victim. I've seen relationships where one partner spends hours researching, preparing evidence, building cases for why they're right about trivial things. They'd rather win an argument about who forgot to buy milk than have a happy relationship. They catalogue every mistake, weaponize every error, and then wonder why their partner seems checked out. The fundamental truth is this: arguments in relationships aren't about winning. They're about understanding. If you're focused on victory, you've already lost. If you need to be right more than you need to be connected, you'll be right and alone. If you can't validate someone's emotions without agreeing with their facts, you'll never have peace. Some people make arguing impossible by design. They shift topics, move goalposts, bring up the past, project futures, catastrophize, minimize, deflect, and gaslight until you don't even remember what started the conversation. It's not accidental. It's a strategy to avoid accountability while maintaining moral superiority. The word salad approach is particularly maddening. They throw out dozens of accusations, complaints, and issues in rapid succession. You can't possibly address them all. If you try, they add more. If you focus on one, they say you're ignoring the rest. It's designed to overwhelm your ability to respond logically, forcing you into emotional reaction or surrender. The cultural conditioning of reactions goes deeper than we realize. Men are taught that showing frustration is dangerous, that anger is toxic, that any negative emotion makes them a threat. Meanwhile, some people learn that emotional expression is power, that tears are weapons, that being upset grants special privileges. These different trainings create impossible dynamics where one person must always regulate while the other can freely escalate. I had a client whose partner would literally follow him from room to room during arguments, preventing any chance for him to calm down and collect his thoughts. When he finally snapped and yelled, "Leave me alone for 5 minutes!" she called the police saying she felt threatened. He was the one being pursued, cornered and harassed, but his raised voice made him the aggressor in the official narrative. The modern relationship confusion isn't just about different communication styles. It's about fundamental disagreements on what a relationship even is. Some people see relationships as partnerships, where both people work toward common goals. Others see them as emotional validation machines where their feelings must always be centered. These views are incompatible, but people don't realize it until they're already committed. The appearance versus reality of strength plays out constantly. The person who cries and breaks down during every argument often controls the entire relationship through emotional terrorism. Meanwhile, the person staying calm and trying to be rational is seen as cold or uncaring. We've confused emotional volatility with passion and emotional stability with indifference. Here's what actually works. Stop trying to win arguments. Start trying to understand emotions. Stop defending yourself. Start asking questions. Stop needing to be right. Start needing to be effective. Stop engaging emotional chaos. Start requiring calm discussion. Stop accepting unacceptable behavior. Start enforcing boundaries. The need for higher emotional awareness isn't just about understanding your partner, it's about understanding yourself. Why do certain arguments trigger you? What childhood patterns are you recreating? Are you arguing about the present or relitigating the past? Both people need to do this work, but it rarely happens simultaneously. The erosion of respect through chronic conflict creates a death spiral. Each unresolved argument adds weight to the next one. Every circular discussion reinforces the belief that communication is pointless. Eventually, you stop seeing your partner as someone to connect with and start seeing them as someone to defend against. Once that shift happens, the relationship is effectively over. The best relationships I've seen don't avoid conflict, they handle it differently. Both people stay focused on the issue, not each other. Both people want resolution, not victory. Both people can admit wrong without losing face. Both people value peace over pride. But this requires both people to be emotionally mature, which is increasingly rare. If someone consistently turns discussions into emotional warfare, they're telling you something important about their capacity for relationship. Listen to what they're showing you. Some people simply cannot have productive conflict. They're not bad people, they're just incompatible with anyone who values reason over emotion. The solution for many men is to simply stop engaging unproductive arguments altogether. State your position clearly once. If it becomes emotional manipulation, disengage. If it becomes personal attacks, leave. If it becomes circular, stop. You're not obligated to participate in someone else's emotional dysregulation. This isn't about gender superiority or who's right and wrong. It's about recognizing that different people have different argument styles, and some styles are simply incompatible. If you need logical resolution, and they need emotional processing, you're speaking different languages. No amount of Google Translate is going to bridge that gap. The tragic reality is that many relationships fail not from lack of love, but from inability to communicate effectively during conflict. Two good people with different operating systems destroying each other through miscommunication. Both thinking they're right, both feeling unheard, both exhausted from the endless cycle. Your job isn't to win arguments. Your job isn't even to avoid them. Your job is to recognize when you're having an actual discussion versus emotional theatre and respond accordingly. Sometimes that means translating emotion. Sometimes it means enforcing boundaries. Sometimes it means walking away. Wisdom is knowing which response fits which situation. The bottom line is this. Arguing with someone who operates on pure emotion while you operate on logic is like trying to play chess with someone who's playing emotional dodgeball. You're not going to win because you're not even playing the same game. The only way to win is to recognize the game being played and either change games or stop playing. Real strength isn't winning every argument, it's knowing which arguments are worth having. Real intelligence isn't being right, it's being effective. Real relationship success isn't avoiding conflict, it's handling it productively. And sometimes, the most productive thing you can do is refuse to argue with someone who can't argue fairly. I want to hear from you guys. What's the most circular, unwinnable argument you've been trapped in? How do you handle when discussions turn into emotional warfare? What strategies have actually worked for you? Drop your experiences in the comments. Sometimes the best therapy is knowing you're not the only one dealing with this insanity.